Hello, this will probably be my final video about boot camp in general. I mean, after this, I'll probably make a video about joining the Navy and what it's like and that kind of thing. But as far as boot camp's concerned, when we're talking about RDCs, they do start out pretty harsh, or try to start out pretty harsh. Some of them are kind of lighthearted and have a hard time getting angry and stuff like that. But as you go along in boot camp, they get a little bit lighter and lighter as they go. I don't know if it's part of the strategy of boot camp, but they'll get nicer, be more social with the recruits, and so don't take it personally early on. Just take the beatings they give you, roll through them, and keep going, because around week 4, they start lining up a little bit, lightening up, and then week 5 and 6, they'll out. I don't know. They'll be your friends almost. Some of them will. I mean, they'll still treat you like you're a recruit, because you are a recruit, and that's just the name of the game. So don't feel bad about that. But as boot camp starts winding down, they'll be more open to your questions. So if you have any questions about Navy and stuff like that, feel free to ask them. But just keep in mind, they don't know everything about every rate. They know their rate. That's about it. Their job, they know a lot about it. Everybody else's job, don't ask them about rates you're going into. Toward the end of boot camp, they'll ask if you have any questions, and don't ask stupid questions, because they'll make you feel stupid in front of people. So, and it's kind of funny for the rest of us. So, well, if you want to be that guy, or female. It doesn't matter. But things to know before going into boot camp: never ask stupid questions. Just listen to what they tell you first, and then think about the questions you need to ask if you don't understand. But let them finish, and then ask from there. Don't ask a SEAL what it's like to be on a submarine, because they don't know. I mean, some of them do, but they don't work on submarines. They just use submarines sometimes to get transported to places unseen. That's it. So if they're on a sub for like a few days, they're not going to know everything about every rate on a submarine. I chose submarines, that's why I mentioned that. But in boot camp, if you need any certain clearance, like top secret, mostly for the CTs, CIs, stuff like that, CTIs, anything related to cryptology, the cryptological section, you'll actually have a security investigator come on base and interview you for your security clearance. For those that require just secret, there's one of two ways that will play out. Secret clearance, if you don't get interviewed, it means you probably filled everything out perfectly. You have all your references in line. Everything lines up from where you lived and what jobs you've worked at. You've had everything perfect. And by perfect, I mean every day of your life is accounted for at an address or at a job. If there's any spaces in between, like your residency, say you lived in Calhoun, Georgia, which is where I'm from, till August 1st, and then you label that you lived in Atlanta, Georgia, starting September 1st, you have that month that's unaccounted for. So just fill that in somehow. Say staying with aunt from August 1st to August 9th, whatever. Just make sure to fill out your security stuff fairly in depth, because that's what they go for. So if you don't get interviewed while in boot camp, that's probably the reason. But for me, I have a secret clearance. Well, I'm getting a secret clearance, and I had a security investigator meet with me like after I got out of boot camp and when I arrived at A school. So, and that's because I'm a little bit older. I've had more jobs. I've lived in more places, 4 different states, 8 different jobs. I'm 29, so it's bound to happen. And for the older guys, they go back further in their investigation. So for like 18 and 19-year-olds, they usually go back to like when you're 16. They only go back a few years, so you haven't lived very long. It goes in your favor for security clearances. The only thing that won't go in your favor is like your credit report, because if you don't have your credit established, that could also be a thing that slows down your security clearance. If you have 0 credit, I mean credit history, that could slow down your security clearance. It usually doesn't, but it can be an issue. But don't Don't fret about that, because if they don't approve your security clearance right off the bat, you get put on hold. Oh, I'm on hold right now. I don't know why I'm talking about security clearance. I might as well label that on the video in a minute. But if you aren't allowed to have your security clearance and you're on base, you get put on hold, which means you can't do classes, and until you get every issue resolved, and so they can give you your security clearance. The process is basically the investigator will interview you, and then a few weeks later, or a month later in my case, the security department on your A school base will give you a list of things you need to do, and then from my point of view, it's financial, because I was a victim of identity theft, and I had a couple of marks on my credit report that I didn't know about a couple of years ago. I checked my credit report like 4 years ago, and it was great. So after that is when it happened. But they gave me a list of things that I needed to take care of, either dispute the charges or pay them. Yeah, I have to account for every one of the charges that they on the list that they give you. Say you have 4 bad credit things on your credit score, credit sheet, whatever they give you, a list of 4, say, collection agencies. You have to have proof that you've called every one of those collection agencies and set up some sort of payment plan. And the problem with that is some of the collection agencies don't give you any letters or anything like that until after you pay it off. So it's kind of hard. The way to go about dealing with that is printing out your bank statements and using those to help account for them. Write down your account number, and you will sign over rights for the security people on base to be able to access those accounts and see how you're doing. So that might be a route they take. I've yet to find out, so I'm still in the middle of it. So I'll probably make a video about how that security process goes for me. But for those that get interviewed on base at boot camp, that's the general thing they're looking for, making sure everything is accounted for in your life. And that's that. If you have any bad things, they'll tell you. They'll find it. You can't hide it. I don't have any criminal history in my background. I've had 1 ticket, and I was upfront about that. But I've heard about people lying about being in prison. Being locked up, having jail time, stuff like that. Criminal charges. You can't lie about that and get by. So if you're filling out for your security clearance, the government is investigating you. They have access to everything you've ever been into. They can get into your bank account if they want to, because they make you sign a paper that says they have access to your information, or they don't do the investigation and you don't get the security clearance, and you get shipped to another school where that doesn't require security clearance. So I'll probably talk more about that later in a different video, about how to plan for your job and make sure it is what you want. But if you get denied a security clearance, if you can't somehow meet their demands, or they just feel you aren't worth it, they won't tell you what's wrong. They'll just deny you, and then that's it. You have to change rates. It's usually a rate that doesn't require a security clearance, which means it's going to be a crappy job. There are some good ones that don't require security clearance, but it depends on what you want to do. It's probably going to be one of those machinist mates kind of on a ship or something like that. Journalism's one of them. If you like to write and take pictures and stuff, that doesn't require security clearance, but usually they won't let you pick unless there's plenty of openings. Then they'll let you pick. But if there's like only 1 or 2 jobs that need to be filled, they'll put you in there without asking you, because you signed your life away. So just keep that in mind when you're filling out for a job that requires a security clearance. But they'll tell you. They'll walk you through the process. Just make sure you're upfront. You cannot hide. You cannot hide your criminal record. That's just how it is. And I'll probably make another video about the process and what you need to know, and go a little bit more in depth about security clearance. But if you're in boot camp and you get a investigator coming, just take it. Do what they tell you to do. That's all you can do, and hope for the best. Top secret has to do a little bit more than secret. So I'm not exactly sure what the process is for top secret, but it usually takes 6 months or so for secret, and it could take almost up to a year for top secret to get it cleared. So if you're in depth for like 4 or 5 months, you should have your secret clearance coming out of boot camp. I was in depth for like 2 months, a little less than 2 months. So my secret clearance took a little bit after I got out of boot camp and got to A school at submarine school. It took a little bit because I'm older and it takes almost the entire time of the allotted estimate of 6 months to do mine. So, and it took almost exactly 6 months for me to get that list and know what I have to do. So yeah, be aware of that. But back to boot camp. After that security investigation can happen at any time in boot camp. It's usually toward the end, but because you're not allowed to have access to most people within the first few weeks, so they keep you under lock and key, I guess is the right way to put it, until you get out. Okay. So that's one facet of boot camp, the security investigations for those classes that need it. While in boot camp, you'll have the opportunity to sign up for jobs like color guard, working at the Boston boat, the USS Constitution, as basically a tour guide. It's like a 9-to-5 job. So you can sign up for that kind of thing. You can still stay in your rate. They'll give you the opportunity. They'll screen you and see if you're qualified. So that's one more thing that happens in boot camp that most people don't talk about. So it's good to know that color guard is in Washington, D.C. They're basically glorified marchers, trick marchers. You will learn different like variations of marching and what they call trick marching. I guess I don't know that much in depth. So just look up a video on color guard on YouTube or something like that, and you'll see it. So those are 2 jobs they screen for because they always need more people to go into color guard and the USS Constitution. But these jobs are roughly 2 years, and you're still staying in rate. And after you get out of your A school, that's when you go. So you're already in your rate, so it counts as time in rate. Go to A school, then go to color guard, or go to A school, then go to USS Constitution. And those are fairly nice gigs from what I hear. The USS Constitution is probably the best. That's in Boston Harbor. Boston's a good city. I'm actually near Boston, about 70, 80 miles away from it, so it's not too far away. Boston's a great place. So if that's something you're looking into going into, just do it. And changing your rate in boot camp, that usually doesn't happen. You can't do it unless you get denied your rate while in boot camp. That's the only way you can change your the job you're looking to go into during boot camp. That's one question that most people ask. Okay, now as far as information about your A school, what you need to expect when you go to your A school, you're going to get a brief around week 5, week 6, well, probably week 5, about how long the A school is estimated to go. That's the only information they have, how long it's estimated to go, where it's at. That's the only information they have on your A school. The information you want to find on your A school will be given to you at your A school, because a lot of it's kind of secretive, so they can't give you extreme details about what goes on in your A school. I mean, it's obvious that some need security clearance, and at boot camp, not everybody has security clearance to talk about it. So that's just how it goes. So when you're asking questions, keep that in mind. You can look up plenty of information online before you go to boot camp. That's the best way to do it, so you don't have these weird questions that nobody can answer when you're in boot camp. So this video is getting kind of long. Graduation. I'll talk a bit about graduation. You can have 4 people come to your graduation for free, and well, for free. They don't have to pay to get in there. Anybody over that can come to your graduation, but they'll be escorted to another building to watch your graduation on a screen and meet up with you after you get out of the drill hall. The drill hall is the graduation room. I forgot what it's called. There's something drill hall. But anyways, anybody that comes that's over the number 4, over your 4 allotted visitors, can come. They just have to meet you afterwards. After you get done with graduation, you can go meet up with them, drive off base. You get a pass, a Liberty Pass. Depending on where you go to A school. If you go to A school in Great Lakes, you'll have to move all your stuff there before you can hang out with your parents. or whoever came. So if you're in Great Lakes, pack seamen, stuff like that, you stay in Great Lakes, you'll immediately move to Great Lakes. The other military base is roughly right across the street, or a mile or two down the road. You'll move there first. It takes about up to 3 hours, so you can move and then have your parents meet you over there at the new base you're going to be stationed in. And that's the way to do it. If you're going to have to travel away from base to your A school, say in another city, you'll be able to hang out with your parents as long as you want. They'll give you a time, not as long as you want. They'll give you a time that you have to be back. It depends on who your RDCs are. I had to be back at, I think, 7 p.m., 1900, and go from there. It's different for everybody because people fly out at different times. So the amount of liberty you get after you graduate is up to where you're going to school. But once you graduate, you're not free to just do whatever you want and just have your parents drive you to the airport or anything like that. You cannot have your parents drive you to the airport. That's one question that most people ask. The base has to offer you transportation because they're responsible for you. And they offer you transportation to the airport, and that's how it goes. You can't have your parents drive you. You can have your parents meet you there and bring you stuff, your electronics, stuff like that. They can't bring you electronics equipment, your electronics, or give you your electronics when you come back on base, because you're not allowed to have it on base, on the Great Lakes Recruit Training Command base. So you'll have to wait till after you go to the airport to pick them up. Some people in our division didn't wait. They got their phones, but they were crafty about it. They were secretive, and they didn't get caught. So that's on you. I mean, if you choose to go that route, just keep it hidden. Don't be stupid about it, because if an RDC hears it, you're going to have to be punished for it. That's just how it goes. So if you get your phone, be crafty. I didn't get my phone because I had canceled my service before I went into boot camp because I didn't want to pay for the bills. And I started a new service when I got here at A school. So that's a little bit about graduation, what to expect. Graduation lasts a long time. You're standing for about 2 hours. And practices aren't fun either. You start practicing about 2 or 3 days before graduation, and you practice for about 3 hours a day. Just standing there, going through the motions, marching into the graduation drill hall, and standing there for a long time. It's not very hard. There's going to be about 10 divisions in there, or so, 9 or 10. We had 10, I think, graduating. Yeah, it's roughly that. So there's a lot of people. There's 700-ish recruits. A lot of people are in the drill hall because everybody has up to 4. A lot of the visitors. It's packed. It's really packed in there. And I was told that all the visitors can't bring electronics on base, like by our RDCs. But that was a lie, because everybody in the stands had their phone out taking pictures and stuff like that. So I'm assuming that means your parents can bring phones and stuff in, because they didn't take them away. They didn't screen them at the door. They just let them come in, and they took as many pictures as they want. And they were very obvious about it too, like not trying to be crafty. So that's one thing about graduation. And people will fall down in graduation. They get tired of standing because it's a few days after battle stations for some divisions, and they're still recovering from staying up all night. For me, for the award winners, the 6 award winners and the recruits, the most improved recruit for each division, they have to show up for an earlier practice at like 5 a.m. almost and start practicing there on the day of graduation. Yet again, we have extra practices outside of graduation practice for the rest of the division. It's kind of sucky, so I had to stand for a lot longer than the other guys, but it was worth it. But that's that light at the end of the tunnel. You'll get through it, and you'll be great. So this video is nearing 20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. I think that's it for boot camp. I'll talk about things you need to know going into boot camp, or getting started with the process, and I think that'll be the next video. All right.